Hey guys, welcome back. So this is the last and final part of our prop design series. In this video, I want to cover mostly the Paintover process and also the final presentation process. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So I had two different paintings up here. This was the interior shot and this right here was the exterior shot. So let's do a little before and after to kind of show you guys what it looked like in 3D and then what it looked like after. So this was a 3D render. And then this was the final painting. So, you know, like before, after. Same thing for the exterior shot. 3D render on the exterior shot. And this was the final Paintover. Before, after. So how did I get there? What were the steps that I took to get to this final image? So let's look at the interior shot first. Go ahead and hide everything. Now, the first thing that I ended up doing was I wanted to give this guy a face, because before it was just like, you know, simple primitive, you know, 3D looking face without any eyes, lips or mouth. And so what I did was I took this guy from Mixamo and kind of like just bashed him up here on the face. Literally just took that image, color graded it, just so that it matches the skin tone up here, and then just put it up here and placed it the best that I could. And then I had a paint layer where I kind of painted away some of the details, painted away some of the noise a little bit. The one thing that I was really looking at, you know, kind of like adding some more grunginess up here on this part, adding a little bit of highlight up here, and also adding a little bit more wrinkles on the clothes up here, right, for this guy. So if you look at like the before and after, and honestly, you don't really need any like fancy brush or anything for this part. You could just use one of the default brushes. This one works pretty good. Hard round, pressure, opacity. And I just did that. Just painted over up here a little bit. And then the next layer that I had was actually photo bashed a picture of the ground up here, because it was getting a little bit noisy, a little bit dark, and also like he's floating in the air. And you know, the best way to photo bash is, let me use this image as an example, right? For example, if you want to, let's cut out a section from up here. So let's say, for example, you want to photo bash this image like on the floor, like this texture, you want to put it on the floor up here. So the first thing you want to do, you want to, you know, get the perspective right, whatever, distort it, maybe something like this, right? Okay, and the next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna switch to grayscale, and I'm gonna try to like match the value. So I want to match the value of this and of the ground up here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna hit Control L, go to levels, and just, you know, play around with these sliders and see if I can find any opportunities. Be a little bit darker. So cool, yeah, so that's pretty close. From there, I'm gonna go back. We're gonna hit Control B, go to color balance. Just add some color to this guy right here. Just gotta play around with it. See what you get. Something like this works. Yeah, cool. And then I can also go to hue saturation, kind of play around with this slider a little bit. See if there are any opportunities. So yeah, that looks pretty close. I think so. And then now what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna add a mask and make sure it's to black, select to black, and press Alt Delete. It'll, you know, hide everything. Then I can come back up here with the color white. I can paint it back some of that texture. For example, you come up here, do that kind of thing. Oops. There you go, you start painting stuff. Start painting a little bit of it. Right? It's like that. So that's a quick way to kind of like photo bash and paint with it. Just go back and forth. And then from there, you can always, you know, color correct it even further. If you feel like the tones aren't matching up, go to color balance one more time. Or yeah, Control B. Use a little bit more yellow and or you could lower the opacity of your layer as well. So yeah, that's how I generally photo bash. You can use this technique for pretty much anything. You just gotta play around with it a little bit. The next thing that I did was, oh yeah, I had this demo that I was doing for some more people. The next thing that I can also do is that I wanted to put an image outside up here. And so let's go ahead and hide all of this. So I had one image on this side, one on that side right here, and it's pretty blurry because I know that I'm gonna add a motion blur on this side anyway, so I did not worry about putting like a high detail image. The same thing for the image back here also. It's gonna be like blurred out. We're barely gonna see anything, so yeah, I didn't really spend too much time on selecting that image. And then here I had the mist pass. I had it twice, so I had this one first, and this one is set to screen. Opacity 35%. If you go to 100%, it looks like this. Change to normal, right? So it's actually black and white, and I went to Control U for hue saturation. And if you hit colorize, you can actually like change the color. And so I hit colorize, and I went, somewhere like this tone, a more like warmer yellowish tone. And then you set it to screen. I had it on 35%. You just gotta play around with it, But now, like, what's happening now is that we're getting a sense of depth in our image. Before, everything was just like the same value, the same darkness, same contrast. But now there's like some sort of like separation happening. And then I took the exact same mist pass and copied it and put it on overlays just so that I can darken up these parts in the foreground a little bit more. Okay. And then here, this was another layer where I just made this part even more darker. I could have just done it on this pass. I don't know why I made a new multiply layer. Sometimes I just go with the flow and I end up making all these new layers. And then this right here was just a minor Paintover pass that I did above the mist pass, just kind of like fixing this part a little bit, painting this, fixing the shape. It looked a little bit too 3D, too messed up. And then I also painted a little bit up here because that window, like, there was like, it was broken and whatnot. So I painted that a little bit up here too. But all that's gonna get hidden soon when I add some more atmosphere. And then the smoke. This right here, this smoke. The way I made this, I used a brush. I had a smoke brush up here. Something like that. And I straight up just like stamped it. It worked out perfectly. Something like that. Boop. Make it a little bit bigger. And in my case, it worked out perfectly. And so from there, you can either photo bash or stamp it, whatever works. Did that, and then put that exact same layer on color dodge up here, and then just added some more highlights just so that we can add some, just to add some volume to the smoke up here. And then color graded that, made it a little bit more warmer, and then added a color dodge layer to just kind of bring back some of that redness. And then a color dodge layer just to bring back a little bit of that warmer tone, the red tone, just to add some more drama. There was that, and then I had my render passes up here. This was a bloom pass. What bloom does, if you have it on normal, it kind of looks something like this. And so in your 3D scene, if you have light hitting any of your 3D models and those models are like reflecting that light to some extent, all of that information will be in your bloom pass. So that's what I did. Put it on screen. Usually on screen or color dodge, it works pretty well. Color dodge, it can get a little bit too crazy. So even if you're using color dodge, you have to like lower down your opacity. Even on screen, I like lowered down my opacity quite a bit. It's just a subtle effect, Nice. And then this up here, I ended up painting over a little bit more again on a different layer on top of everything, all my render passes. Like there was this, this piece of cloth hanging that was looking a little weird, like broken pieces of 3D geometry, 3D mesh. And then I painted this guy's face a little bit more, stylized it up a little bit. He was looking a little weird. I think that's it on that layer. And just, yeah, fixing minor things here and there, adding a little bit of highlights here. I added some, some knots up here around the tools, little things here and there, whatever I was seeing that looked out of place. And then up here, I added some more haze on a screen layer, just a little bit more atmosphere. And then this layer right here, this was just a layer of brush strokes from a texture brush. kind of like that, like a this going downwards. And then I put it on overlay at 10%, so it gave me like this nice little effect of just, you know, painterly look. This painterly brush strokes going downwards, and also kind of like points your eye. You see this direction, you go down, look at this up here, and you just stay up here. Now what was happening at this point, like a lot of my values were getting mixed in to where the value of the smoke was getting mixed in with the values of everything else. So I made another layer where I darkened out everything around the corner. So let me just reveal the next group. This was kind of like the final adjustment group. So let's hide everything. So it was this layer right here. So now what's happening now is that your eyes are just like staying up here. You know, you're just staying up here. This is your main focal point. Everything else is there too, but it all just leads you back into this main focal image, this main focal point. And there was another soft light layer where I just wanted to make this a little bit more red, a little bit more warmer. And then I used a curves adjustment layer just to kind of like make this part a little bit more brighter, just to increase that drama, that contrast. And you can do this by going up here and click on curves. And when you do that, you get a curves adjustment layer with a mask as well. So let me double click on this. So this is essentially where you can like adjust your, you know, your levels. You can just increase the brightness or make it super dark, however you want to do it. And then you can mask the parts that you don't want to show. And so I did another adjustment layer with some color lookup, and this is where it looked really nice because now we had a good balance of warm and cool shadows. So we had warm light and colder shadows, which was really nice. It was a nice balance between the two. And you can literally go down this list and just figure out which one works for you, you know? That's what I pretty much do. And once again, I do this in the very last step when I know that I am done painting, you know? This is the refinement part. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So yeah, crisp winter, that's the one that worked for me. And also, you know, at 100%, it's kind of like that, a little bit too strong. So I brought it down to like, you know, around 50%, just for a subtle boost. And so with that, we're almost done. A few more effects that I do. So up here, this is a high pass layer. So it's a very subtle effect, but what it's doing when you zoom in, right? It's kind of like sharpening my image a little bit. It's kind of sharpening my brush strokes a little bit, adding a little bit of detail. And I don't know why I have two of these, but that's what I do. The way you do this, you pretty much merge, copy all your layers, merge them. So I would select, let me hide this. Select this, select everything, Control J, Control E. So that way everything is on one layer, right? And then from there, I'll go to filter, other, high pass. And around 3.8 pixels works pretty good. From there, you go and put it on overlay and lower the opacity a little bit, just play around with it. So that's how you get that effect. Let's delete that for now. And then the last effect that I did a motion blur to where it's blurred out a little bit on the corners, on less areas of interest, and more sharper on the area of your interest. So the way I did that again, I select everything, shift select, Control J, Control E. And then from here, this time I went to, let me hide this for now. Filter, blur, motion blur. And I like to have it where it's like angled inwards towards the center of the image. And it doesn't have to be super strong. And once you come up here, you just mask it. And I'm just gonna change to my white color. Grab a soft round brush. And just go, oh yeah, black color, sorry. Kind of just, you know, start painting in a little bit. Cool. So that was kind of it for this image. And this is what we had at the end of the day. So, you know, let's look a little before and after. And this right here was my first Paintover pass. And then the feedback that I got was that, hey, add some, you know, cooler shadows, maybe add some more, you know, some more wires, some more hanging threads, some cloth hanging, just so that we get some more sense of perspective. And also in a way, it's adding as a good compositional element, because then you have the thread going this way, coming down, leading you back in up here. The smoke is going this way, coming down, leading you back up here. The same thing for this side too, you know? So it played a really good role in just having a good composition. Now let's look at the exterior shot. So the exterior shot actually had a couple hiccups with this. So mainly the issue that I had was when I made my first image. Let me pull that up. My first pass painting that. So this was my first pass at painting over this image. And what was happening right now is that there was a lot of blue up here and it was standing out. So our eyes were just like staying up here and everything else was just like really warm. And so it was taking away from the main moment that was happening up here where these people are going here to buy some bread. And so the feedback that I got was that it'll be better if you add some dirt up here to kind of get rid of that blueness of this image and then add some of that blue part up here instead. So now what's going to happen when you do that is you'll have a high area of warm colors with a little bit of cooler tones in the middle. And so that'll lead your eye up here and keep you up here a lot better. And so that's what I did. And then this was the final image. And it works really well in the sense that now what's happening is that I'm focusing more on this area and then I eventually look at this, and all of this up here, right? And so the way I worked on this image, it was a little bit messy. I don't even know which layer to show and which not to show, not gonna lie. So this right here was the initial 3D render. And then once I got my feedback, I re-rendered this again by retexturing this top part and adding some more stuff at the bottom right here. And then I put an image of a desert sand on the floor. And then up here, I painted a little bit of the darkness up here because, see, it was like looking weird as fuck up here. So we did that. And then here comes my people. So all of my people up here, these are just photo bashed from different images. And I gave them all like a specific pattern just to kind of show that maybe these are like residents of this area. And then I added a color lookup filter that was clipped to it just to kind of color grade it a little bit. And then what I also did after that, so this right here, not this. This was some of that rock texture that I painted on the rock itself. And then down here, I painted a little bit more. There were like a lot of like dark moments happening up here. So I just wanted to like get rid of that contrast to some extent. And then this layer, I kind of photo bashed another dude, just, bringing in bread. And then this right here was just a rock texture for these stepstones, kind of leading you in towards the entrance. Then here comes the mist pass. So this mist pass right here was set to multiply because I wanted to like kind of take the light away and darken everything up. And then this mist pass up here was also set to multiply, and this was making the foreground trees a little bit more darker. And now this mist pass right here was set to screen, and this was kind of giving me the separation between the focal point up here and the stuff that's in the background, right? So if you see it like before and after. Cool. And I also like pretty much I painted a lot on this first mist pass, right? Like I painted some more volume, some more shadows up here on this part, added some more shadow down here as well, some down here, darkened this part a little bit more, little things like that. And then I added like a cloud PNG image like down here and down here on the back. Then we had a bloom. The bloom was working really well in bringing back some of the warmness and the brightness on the shade up here. And then I had an overlay layer where I kind of like painted some highlights, mainly on the rock up here, a little bit on those people up here as well. And then this right here, I thought would be cool to just show like smoke coming out of, the whole place. It looks really weird right now, but trust the process. Then I had a lighten layer and right here, it was kind of getting a little too dark in these window openings. So I just painted a little bit brown up there. And then I had a screen layer, just added a little bit glow on the crystals up top. And then this layer, I wanted to add some dirt because after I got feedback, I decided that I'm just gonna paint some like dirt and grunginess. Because realistically speaking, if these crystals are outside, exposed to dirt, wind, heat, they're gonna get like rusty and like old to some extent. And then up here, this was another overlay layer where I was just trying to like bring back some of the color to some extent, like a little bit on the ground up here, a little bit brightness up here, down here also, just so that our eyes can focus on these parts a little bit more. And then down here I added a multiply layer where I kind of like darkened this part a little bit. And then this right here, make a copy of this. This was just a section of my render where I had everything textured out, and I just like placed it on top of the painting that I did. So let me show you what it looks like without. was kind of like something like this for my 3D render, because my painting looked pretty bad, so I had to like just kind of bash this in on top of it. Let's go ahead and delete that. And then I did another Paintover pass on top of it, where I kind of just tried to unify everything in a better way. Before or after, you know, I had like these, like this stuff up here, kind of blended that in with the rock a little bit more, right? And then this layer up here had like some brush strokes just coming in a downwards motion, just to add a little bit of noise. And then I had a curve slider just to kind of brighten out this part a little bit, this part and this part, just so that your eyes kind of like go revolve around this area a little bit better. And that was kind of it. And then we did some more effects. I had a color lookup up here. And this time for color lookup, I used up the Fuji Eterna 250D. It worked pretty well because I felt like it was getting a little bit too dark in some areas. So it kind of like lightened up those parts a little bit. And then I had a threshold as well, just to kind of check my value read, and it was looking pretty good, you know, for the most part. And then this right here again was just, you know, a high pass filter where it was just sharpening up everything a little bit, you know. And then we had a motion blur one more time, motion blurring the stuff in the foreground. Everything else was nice and crisp. And so yeah, so that was the final Paintover stage for the exterior shot. Now, how do we make a good portfolio piece out of this? So I actually ended up posting this on ArtStation. So the way I did it was that I had one exterior shot, one interior shot, and then I did a turntable animation off my, you know, off my focal point of my bakery. Now, this is not necessary. What you can also do, you can also have different orthographic views instead, where you can show like a front view, side view, back view, top view, that kind of stuff. But you know, in animation, you know, it looks cool. I mean, I like making these cool turntable animations, so that's why I went for it. But as long as you're getting those details, you're problem solving, that's what matters for the most part. Move myself down here for a little bit. And then I also had some call outs. So these dough mixers, these guys right here, I did a call out on this first, just to kind of show the, you know, show the texture, show this blade up here, how it works. It revolves up here and then it mixes all the dough up here. And then I had the idea where like these crystals, they power up these mixers. And the way it works is that you have a guy come up here, grab a jewel, open the lid, and then you crank it up and you pull it, and then it starts running. And the way I got these, what I did, like I had everything built out in 3D anyway. So I made a new Blender file and just copy pasted everything down there, and then rendered it using the freestyle render pass. And so with that, I got a really nice render with the texture and the line art, and it worked really well. The same thing I did for the stove as well, kind of, you know, breaking down the texture, showing the tools these guys are using up here to kind of make the bread, because we can barely see it down here. And then the function of the stove, how you would like put bread and grab it out. And then these were just some initial sketches, you know, the 2 interior sketches that I did, and then the sketches for the exterior shot, the exterior focal point. And then I'll usually put my, you know, YouTube video links as well in case people want to watch it. So yeah, so that's how you end up just making a good, this is like a good way to just have a pretty simple looking portfolio piece, like nothing too crazy, not too many details, but at the same time, you're also showing that, you know how to design stuff, you know how to present stuff, and stuff like this inspires directors and recruiters and leads to hire you. So showing your prop in context is always a really good thing to show in an image, in a portfolio piece. If I wanted to, I could have just have this up here. I could have had that and just all of this, but then people wouldn't know like how this works in a, you know, in a proper environment. So it's very important to have like at least 1 or 2 key paintings along with the prop design. And with that being said, that's the end of our prop design series, you guys. Oh my God, I'm so happy this is finally done. All right, guys, so that should be all for today. Thank you so much for watching this series that I was working on the past month. It was really a lot of fun. I haven't really done any series of videos like that where it's part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5. It gave me an opportunity to show you guys a lot of the stuff that goes behind the scenes when it comes to making an image, and doing all of that in one video can just be a little bit too hard. And I was also actively getting feedback on my work every week, so that back and forth was also something that was very helpful to have and very helpful to show. And also just to kind of inspire you guys to go out there and get feedback, either whether it's through a class, whether you're just asking your friends, whatever it is, because, you know, feedback will always get you a lot further, right? You'll spend hours working on a piece. It'll look great. When you get feedback, it'll look even better because now you know, oh, what are the things that I want to work on and fix. If you followed along this journey, thank you so much. And if you've made it this far, please do subscribe to my channel. We are almost at 2,000 subscribers, which is absolutely crazy and mind-blowing to me. It took me like an year to get to 1,000 and only a couple months to get to 2,000, almost 2,000. So thank you so much for being here. This is just something that I like to do for fun, and I hope to grow this channel even more. And so next week I'll be back with some more cool stuff, so be on the lookout for that. And I'll see you guys in the next one.